swear to God, people do this shit in 10 minutes. They do a whole fucking week's worth of comics in 10 minutes. Either they're reading less than I am, or I just really am that long-winded. Anyway, we're at part 5 of New Comics, bitches. So, let's get on with it. Okay. Book of the week. Alternate. Because this came out last week, actually. And it leads into what is not the book of this week, but is its companion piece. So I can't talk about one without talking about the other. And this has to go first. This would have definitely been one of the books of the week last week, even though last week was a really, really, really good week. It was made even better because I picked up the first issue of Ultimate Fallout. That was done by Bendis and Bagley. It was a really difficult read. Rarely is the death of a major character, dealt with in such a realistic way. Because obviously you're dealing with, you know, MA just wants to be a small thing. Tony Stark's like, no way. Your son's getting the biggest funeral the city's ever seen. And yeah, so they put it, I believe, in St. Pat's Cathedral. And thousands of people are there to pay their respects to Peter Parker, who died as he lived. He lived as a hero. And I won't get too much into, well, this happened at this point, this happened at that point. My tear ducts were definitely welling up during, and I definitely choking up during reading Ultimate Fallout. It was so well done. It was so well handled. This ranks amongst Bendis's best work with the Ultimate Universe, with any of his work, period. It reminded me actually of an issue that he did for Ultimate X-Men. I couldn't give you the number of the issue, but it's an issue, it was part of the New Mutants arc. This was a while ago. It was back in 2005, I think. Where basically a young man wakes up and his mutant power kicks in, and his mutant power is to disintegrate all organics. So his whole town, 1,000 people have died because that was his mutant power. Wolverine essentially is sent to kill him. It's a terrifying and incredible story, and really, if you're definitely not choked up by the end, you have a cold, fucking dead heart. Same thing can be said about Ultimate Fallout. This was an extremely powerful issue, this first issue. And like I said, I kind of get choked up thinking about it, just, because of everything that's going on, everybody's dealing with it in their own way. Especially Mary Jane, she really seems to blame the Ultimates and Nick Fury for what happened. She's not letting that go. So we have Ultimate Fallout 2, which I wouldn't rank as being one of the books of the week. It's still very solid. This actually has 3 writers, though, and 3 different artists. I've got Bendis working with Gabriel Hardman on what would be the Captain America segment, which is basically because at the end of last issue, Captain America comes up to Aunt May and says, "It's my fault." I killed your son, which isn't, of course, the literal truth, but when he explains that that Peter took the bullet that was meant for him, I mean, the wound that essentially that he died from, and just before that, Cap was saying that Cap told Spidey that he wasn't, that he didn't earn the right to wear that costume to be Spider-Man because he's too young. He's making, I don't know exactly what was said because I didn't read the Ultimate Spider-Man, I just read the final issue. I'd like to go back and read some of the other stuff to see exactly what Cap said. And Aunt May does not take very kindly to this. She actually smacks Cap right across the face, which is not to say he didn't deserve it. Because if he did do all the stuff that he said that he did, then yeah, that was pretty uncool. So that's the first part by Bendis. Then Jonathan Hickman joins up with the I would say the king. Well, Mark Bagley would be considered certainly the longest running artist, but I think the best artist of the Ultimates universe is Brian Hitch. So you got Jonathan Hickman and Brian Hitch teaming up on what I think is actually the best segment, which is about Thor, because they're all there at this funeral. All the Ultimates are, and one of the things that I kind of, if you remember from my review of the final issue of Avengers versus New Ultimates #6, that there was no real reflection on Spider-Man's death, but now there is by the Ultimates. And Thor, basically, he has the most religious point of view on this whole thing because his race is steeped very heavily in mythology, and it has, so it's not really religious, but it's he knows that a god exists because he's one of them, and he knows that there is a place that the honored dead go to, and it's a great hall, and a special place is set aside for the warriors, and that's Valhalla, for the heroes, I should say. And you can and you can see people like Wolverine and Wasp and Cyclops are all there dining in this great hall, and it's just so beautifully drawn by Hitch and beautifully realized by Hickman. Definitely my favorite segment. Then Nick Spencer and Lee Garbett as the artist do a story of Rogue. Rogue has a much different take on this. She feels that it's possibly the end of the world. That the death of Spider-Man is just the beginning of more of the end of the world, because she's lost, being Rogue, being, a Brotherhood member and then being an X-Man, she's lost so much. I mean, almost, so many people have died around her. All the different X-Men that died, the different members of the Brotherhood that died, so many people died during Ultimatum. And she believes that this is just really kind of the real beginning of the end. She ends up in a church. But the last moment of the comic of #2 is Mary Jane kind of writing a story about how the world killed Spider-Man, but the world that she's really referring to is the world of the Ultimates. She is writing that she's not going to let go of that. That's basically what she was doing in the last issue. What she reveals, that's may come to bear, or whether it's just a way of her dealing with her grief. I don't know yet, but I mean, this is, so far, just these 2 weeks, we've got an extremely well-written storyline here, dealing with the death of, a hugely popular character any way that you cut it, whether it's in the regular, the regular 616 universe or in the Ultimate universe. So just really terrific stuff. Number 1 was better than number 2, but number 2 was still pretty good. So on to book of the week for this week. And no shock to anybody who actually reads this or knows which comics came out this week, but it is, again, Rocketeer Adventures number 3. I love this book. I hope this continues. I hope it continues, because this fucking book is great. Not only does every story make you happy and filled with a sense of old-timey adventure, but the art in it and the storytelling is just amazing. I mean, it doesn't even matter what the stories are that are being told, even though they're all thrilling in their own right. There's some great pinups, that they're all hearkening back to, this time, 1930, 1931, 1932. We've got Ryan Sook, who does the first story, again, adorning it with some really nice storytelling, some really lovely artwork. It gets, there's some really good stuff going on with the dialogue here. Making the gangster, making the not gangsters, but the thugs sound like the thugs. Making them sound like this and that. The kind of, that's how I hear it in my head. And then Joel Lansdale writes a prose piece here. Basically, a prose piece that has art by Bruce Timm. So that, to me, that's a huge deal. And this is, it's just a really, it's called Spicy Adventure Stories. And basically, it's another tale of how the Rocketeer ends up kind of saving the day, but how Betty also kind of saves the day too. But she does it in just kind of, pink lingerie. Actually, would have liked to have seen that illustrated a little bit more. But I do like the way that people draw Betty. Then in the final story here, we've got Jonathan Ross and Tommy Lee Edwards working together to create kind of a young, the youngsters. The junior Rocketeers, that hang around the airplane, that hang around the hangar where Scott and Peavy ply their trade, and of course, Betty's hip deep in it again. And this time it's the ladies that come to save the day. I mean, Dave Stevens, who created this character, obviously his life was cut horribly short by hairy cell leukemia. If he's looking at this comic book, which he is, I'm sure of it, he's marveling at how amazing the work that this character that he created has inspired, because this is some of the best work that I've seen done on a comic in a really long time. And I'm because I do love dark, don't get me wrong, I love dark comics, but bright, sunny, fun, entertaining, sexy, these are all things that the Rocketeer gets. And one of the reasons that I'm so excited to see Captain America tomorrow, because Joe Johnston directed the film version of this, which I thought was a fantastic film, and a lot of people are saying some really good things about it. So you're going to have my review of that tomorrow night, I guarantee you. So until then, this is the Shadow Gallery. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe. Let's hear from you people. It's interaction. Until next time, see you later.